欢迎来到我们香港区块链应用学院。星期四晚上就是我们每周的这个区块链学院。那么今天呢，我们非常高兴欢迎两位这个企业家，一位是企业家，一位是这个投资人。今天我们欢迎这个 AngelHub.io 还有这个 SandBox Games 这两家公司。那么 Angel Hub 呢，中文可以翻译成叫做天使枢纽或者一个天使集会。Angel Hub.io 呢应该是一个众筹，就是 crowdfunding 众筹的一个平台。那么这个另外这家公司叫做 SandBox Games。这家公司呢就是一个SandBox is a community-driven platform where creators can monetize voxel assets and gain experiences on the blockchain。就是一个区块链项目，叫做SandBox。那么它就容许一个社群 community-driven， 就是一个社交平台，让不同的这个3D 资产叫做 voxel asset， 就是中文翻译成什么数体数3D voxel 就是一个体数，就是一个3D 模型，好像Lego 一样的一个3D 模型。那么这些设计师这个艺术家设计师可以用一些3D 的模型，可以设计一套3D 的体数，就是 voxel asset 资产，然后把它放在区块链上。那么所以我们今天呢，大家如果是创业的，可能都非常关注如何可以去跟投资人取得可以融资。那么这个 AngelHub.io 就是一个很好的平台，就让项目方企业家可以在这个平台上可以发表您的项目，然后可以通过这个众筹的平台，那么他们并且也拿到香港的这个 SFC 的一些认证众筹的一些牌照，所以是一个合法合规，在香港合法合规的一个众筹平台。那么我们就我们感谢我们的这个投资人和我们的这个赞助方包括这个 Golden Sand Resources GSR。So thank you to our sponsors, Golden Sand Resources, Global STOX 环球证券有限公司，还有太一 Group from China and Hong Kong Blockchain Association 香港区块链协会，这都是我们的赞助商 sponsor。所以首先我们就欢迎我们今天的第一位主讲嘉宾。Let's welcome Miss Karina Belen. She's based in Hong Kong. She's the co-founder and CFO, co-founder, COO of Angel Hub. Okay. 我们是不是要放到他 ？Okay, good.
Perfect.
Good. Karina, so how did you tell us how about your background and how did you get involved from how did you come to Hong Kong and how did you came up with the idea of Angel Hub and became its co-founder?
Yes, thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here, and thank you for having me. So just a very short background. I guess I have been traveling the world and living across the world. So I'm originally from Germany. I studied most of my time in Germany. I grew partially up in the US. And I have a background in business and administration and an MBA also from a French business school. So I've kind of like started really my career in France with Procter & Gamble, and used to work 15 years with Procter & Gamble, mainly in the finance department across Europe, across Northeast Asia, based out of Japan. I actually lived 8 years in Japan, and then came over here to Hong Kong for Greater China, still with Procter & Gamble. I know my co-founder, Karen. She is French, and she has a program and a diploma in engineering, and also an MBA from another French business school. And she grew up most of our time in Japan, and we met in Japan. So we knew each other from Japan and met back here again. And arguably, we really founded first W Hub, the sister company of Angel Hub, out of passion for the tech and startup community, and really wanted to make a difference. So really specializing in helping startups scale and accelerating the entire ecosystem. We felt that particularly here, Hong Kong back in 2012, 13 was not yet necessarily a very mature ecosystem. And we said there is no reason it should not play a major role on the global map of startup ecosystems, given, its strategic positions, the great infrastructure and resources. And hence, so we first built W Hub and an entire activity system around helping startups to recruit, to gain visibility, a media angle to showcase the ecosystem, running co-innovation programs with corporates, helping startups to go overseas, welcoming startups from overseas, so have a soft landing program here, helped accelerate the ecosystem. So by now, I always am very proud to say Hong Kong has given birth to 9 unicorns for 7 million people. That's a pretty nice density of unicorns per capita. And we also host a conference. So we just finished our flagship conference. We were the anchor event of the Start Me Up Hong Kong Festival with SIS Startup Impact Summit for 2 days. And it was phenomenal because we were fully online, and so hence had 97 countries, participants from 97 countries, over 274 speakers. So Sebastien was one of our fabulous speakers, and we had a great panel already there on gaming and blockchain, together with Yatsu from Animuka and Outplays, and Mick from CryptoKitties. So that was fantastic. And I mean, back to your question, so why Angel Hub? So we felt with W Hub, we were kind of like really already helping founders, teams, and the entire ecosystem accelerate and get to the resources they need. But we felt we had to make an additional effort in solving the pain points in the fundraising process, and really promoting further the opportunities of startup investing as a very distinct asset class. And so hence we built the sister company Angel Hub, which is, as I think you mentioned that, my Chinese is not that good, but it's Hong Kong's first and still only SFC regulated equity crowdfunding platform for professional investors and growth stage companies that are scaling here in Asia.
Okay, I'll give a very quick translation to summarize in Chinese. 他是来自于德国，但是他在香港也生活了9年了。那么这个Angel Hub 呢，就是在香港的众筹的一个平台。那么他们在这个 Corona 以前在 Procter and Gamble 就是宝洁，so like head and shoulders, right? Procter and Gamble.
Not only. Actually, if I would start, naming the entire portfolio of Procter and Gamble, it's healthcare, it's paper business, it's food business, it's detergent, it is also beauty product, as you said. The Head and Shoulders only once. Pantene is maybe more known, even, I don't know, but yeah.
I think most of
quite big.
Are familiar with Procter and Gamble, especially Head and Shoulders. I use that every day.
If you would have kids, you would probably know You would probably say Pampers first, and but yeah.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about crowdfunding. How is it from traditional, startups? They would talk to their angel investors. They would find venture capitalists or other friends and family. So how is it a crowdfunding platform? How is it different from traditional person-to-person angels and VCs? And also, you said that there's a license, SFC license. How does it make it more regulated? What's the importance of this license?
So I'm really glad that you asked the question about, crowdfunding, because sometimes there is this, okay, so crowdfunding is there, or these crowdfunding platforms are there to replace existing players in the, investment scheme, be it angels or venture capitalists. And actually that's totally wrong. So it's very complementary. And for those who go on our platform, our hashtag is investing in startups together. So we really, once again, leverage the crowd, so to speak, but really leveraging the power and the possibility on the platform to invest is open for angels as well as for venture capitalists, as well as for actually newcomers. So again, we have a strong mission of opening up and democratizing access to an asset class that is maybe not so well known by a certain group of high net worth individuals or family offices. So, and again, if you look into our portfolio and companies that we have published on the platform that successfully funded through Angel Hub, we really did that also very often in collaboration, where we have, for example, existing investors that would finance part of the round, and we would help really broaden the investor base for the companies. And as I said previously, I mean, we're here not only for Hong Kong companies, but we're also helping companies from overseas to expand their investor network in terms of having access to an investor network that is, more regional here. And with that, we have in our portfolio, for example, companies that originally came from Ireland. We funded a company from Thailand, from Singapore. We have companies on the platform from Israel, obviously also here from Hong Kong, and also from Europe. So really the objective with the crowdfunding platform for companies is to enable really to get market access through strategic and smart investment here in the region, and once again also to broaden. Now, we think that we do actually have a particular high added value to the startup side in the pre-AA stage, because that's typically, when you need more than 1 or 2 angels to invest, because you're raising between $500,000 and 1.5 million, and yet you're maybe not too small yet in terms of investment opportunity for established VCs. So obviously, in that context, the added value for the startups is huge. But we also have on our platform, part of Series C round. So again, we actually had 2 companies where we took a part of a Series C round, and for them, it's again, for example, one was a textile tech company. It's great because it allows them to have their consumers become their shareholders, and these are the best brand ambassadors, of course. And for that also, given that we have roughly like 20% of our portfolio in later stage company, also for our investors, with that, they have the opportunity to be geographically, as I said, diverse and agnostic, technology agnostic, sector agnostic, and now also across different stages. So if you want to make a return on startup investing, obviously, the more diversified your portfolio is, the higher are the chances for return. And so that's really where we feel like we're making a big difference.
Okay. Regarding the SFC license, because you're based in Hong Kong, what is the importance of getting that license from the SFC?
Yeah, so as we say on W Hub and on Angel Hub as well, I mean, we really always start from a purpose and a passion, right? And for us, it was really bringing that concept that is really not new. It actually probably exists in any other jurisdiction in the world, and in some of these jurisdictions has even opened up now to crowdfunding in the sense of retail crowdfunding. So not only for professional investors, but we said there is no reason actually here in Hong Kong, which is a premier financial market in Asia, which already has one of the highest density of high net worth individuals, which again is a fantastic breeding ground in the heart of also the Greater Bay Area and Asia in general, for companies to scale and to scale fast. So the thing is, I think when people ask me, like, what is the success of getting the very first and arguably still the only SFC license, is really having that deep purpose, passion, and understanding of the business opportunity. Because then the process, was full of questions, hurdles, one mini problem after the other that had to be solved. I think the very first was, and we're really fortunate that, the SFC, the HKBA, and the insurance authorities, just to name 3 of the major regulators, since 2016 actually really put fintech contact points in place. And we're really opening up to the tech scene and not only the incumbents to understand, what can, smaller innovative companies bring to the table. But the first thing was really to explain the business model in itself. What does it actually mean? And with that, and I think we discussed that, previously when we talked, things like, for example, having a fully digitized onboarding process. This is, I think, we're one really of the first companies in Hong Kong who were able to get our fully digitized onboarding process approved by the SFC, because previously, again, was either wet signature or, there's a process that was so-called digitized, but you still had to go to the post office and register. So again, just, ensuring that with creating our own technology in-house to have digital identities and digital signatures approved. So that was one big milestone. And it was funny because our license came out and 5 days later, you're probably familiar with regulations. So the GODAP was put in place. So the guidelines on online distribution advisory platforms. Coincidence? Maybe not. So again, so that was really something. And again, that's just one point to highlight. I mean, the other things was, again, things where certain requirements actually didn't exist in the market, and we really had to build them in-house to be able to get that fully digitized onboarding process approved.
That's great. So right now, you mentioned that there's only one license that's issued by the SFC for crowdfunding, and that's the license you have?
Well, the thing is, again, to be actually clear, there is nothing such as a crowdfunding license, right? So as I said, again, at the very beginning, when it comes about really being, explaining the business model, is at the beginning, you kind of like, you know, the different types of licenses, you know, from, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 10, are made for a traditional business, right? So it was really kind of like fitting squares into circles, and there was a first whole discussion. So what does this business model actually require as a type of license? So that was really interesting. So again, I think the question came up in the chat, like, what is the type of license we're holding? We're holding a type 1 and a type 4 license.
Okay, well, good. Because we are, the company that I'm involved, Global STOX, we are also involved in applying for the SFC licenses related to the virtual asset trading platform, which is a type 7 license, a type 1 license, type 7 license. And also the SFC has also issued the security token offering guideline back in March of 2019. So that leads to the next question. Previously, many companies use ICOs, and now many of them are thinking about using STO, security token offering, as a way to raise fund. What's Angel Hub doing about ICO or tokenization, using tokens to raise funds, either ICO or STO? What's your opinion on that?
Right. So actually, just again, to be very, very clear on Angel Hub, so it's a platform for investing, and not investing through cryptocurrencies, but you know, in investing, and in contrary, I mean, in exchange, you become shares in you know, become owner of shares in a startup. So we do not enable you know, ICOs on our platform, and again, actually, you cannot invest through cryptocurrencies. Same thing, actually, we have built a fund alongside, so we do co-invest on the deals that we put on our platform. These are funds that in fiat, so they're now not crypto funds. Now, as I mentioned originally, our philosophy is really being technology agnostic and sector agnostic. And for us, you know, blockchain is one technology. It's not an industry, right? It's a technology, but that powers so many different industries, be it the gaming sector, be it the financial services sector, so the fintech sector, also with that, you know, be it, for example, property sector, right, with tokenization of assets, even with that very traditional business like art sector with tokenization of art. So again, it just helps solve pain points in a very different way. So drive new business models, drive new product market fit, because it's frictionless, because it's trustworthy, because it democratizes access. And I think, you know, Sebastien will have a wonderful story to share about how it really shifts the power of the stakeholders in the gaming industry, and really helps your democracy and monetization of, for example, gamers, right, in that industry. So that's why we're really, really bold and looking into, you know, investment opportunities in that space, in blockchain. And the thing is, even, you know, ICOs or very famous companies or ICOs, they do also raise money through equity. So one of the most successful ICOs is actually Block One, right, which is headquartered in Hong Kong, and, you know, partially between Hong Kong and Silicon Valley. So even Block One, they raised 4 billion in ICO, but they still did an equity round afterwards, where you had famous investors like Peter Thiel come and hold equity shares in the company. And I think just to close the whole discussion on ICOs, I think it's also, again, always very important to understand the underlying business model of the company, you know, be it blockchain in ICOs or be it any other technology. But again, there you look, you know, you have companies that use blockchain for cryptocurrencies, and they're really, you know, on digitizing, you know, monetary values. But you also have companies that leverage what is it? Really helping the tokenization of assets, right? And they use utility tokens. Here it is, looking for the word. Use utility tokens really as a means of you know, providing a more efficient market. So again, I think if we start looking into what are investment opportunities, there are several ones, and we're really, really keen on the ones that are really making a difference then in market dynamics.
That's great. And how does your platform make money? How does Angel Hub survive? Do you just take a cut of the investment?
Yes, so actually, yeah, with that, again, arguably we're not like super disruptive to the VC ecosystem, right? So we actually do take a one-off fee on a successful deal, and then we're really incentivized in terms of, you know, choosing. And I should have said, like, really we have a very, very highly vetted deal flow. As much as, you know, W Hub is a community builder and really open to everyone on Angel Hub, we have obviously on the one hand side only a network of professional investors, and on the other hand also, you know, startups where we feel you know, we can really provide them a significant added, you know, value in scaling into Asia. And so it's highly vetted for us to choose, you know, the companies that we feel are most successful, also in the combination of the investor network that we provide and the market access. And once again, also because we put our own money. And for the investors that invest through us, yes, we do charge a carry on successful exit.
The 220 model, like the traditional PE and
Well, arguably it's better than that. I mean, we say we take the best out of both worlds, out of angel investing and out of the VC model, because you don't have any annual management fees on Angel Hub. What we do allow is actually for you as an investor, if you say you have, let's say, $100,000 that you want to invest. I think typically if you want to come on board on companies that are pre-AA, for that amount of money, you probably have to put everything into one deal. On Angel Hub, you can invest as with little as $10,000 per deal. And then, I mean, to your point, yes, it's 20% carry. That's
a very good idea to really allow the spread out the risk and to join in more projects. Because if you only have 100,000, and if you only bet on one project, the success rate is pretty low. But if you can spread out to many projects, and then you can really have a better chance of making money, right? Yeah. And I mean, just to your point, just to build on, again, when we say we solve the problem of time, access, and know-how, it's not only for the funders and founders or the teams, right? Where obviously time, you know, they should not spend, you know, wasting 9 months in fundraising, but really focus on what they do best, which is building their business, and access to really a professional network of vetted investors that can provide not only money, but also, you know, added value, kind of the smart part of the money. But on the investor side, it's exactly the same thing. So when we say we provide access to a great deal flow, is obviously on really having understanding and access to these, but also allowing with a relatively small amount of money to be part of these deals. So I talked about the pre-AA deals, but once again, you know, the Series C deals that we have, and we had, you know, one that was really led by Jungle Ventures and JD.com. If you're like an individual and you say, oh, can I invest 10,000 in this round? No, you won't. So again, that's something that we allow. And with that, again, for investors to be able to have a very diversified portfolio also across stages of companies. Yeah. So as I mentioned, we are doing the platform for security token offering, and we're talking to also many other venture capital and PE firms to help them tokenize their portfolio of investment so that their investors can have a quicker way to, you know, liquidate, to flow their assets. Have you thought of that, using maybe security token exchange platform to tokenize and allow the investors So currently, if your investors invest in the project, are they locked into many, many years, like a typical PE or VC fund, or can they, do you have a platform for them to trade their portfolio investment?
Yeah, and I think it comes a little bit back to the what I was answering to your first question. Right? How do you go about, getting a license for an equity crowdfunding platform? I think again for us, it was not, the objective was not, okay, let's get a license for an equity crowdfunding platform. The objective was, let's solve a pain point in the market, which was really for companies, particularly in the pre-AA stage, to raise capital in the most effective way. And therefore, again, the need for, tokenization of assets, for more liquidity, etc. It was not the most predominant need, and again, even for a lot of investors today, really already providing them access, to investment opportunities was the main pain point that we were trying to solve. I mean, to your point is, looking into other pain points. And again, my point is the market opportunity here is already huge. And again, I think that is something where, making this first step was a huge breakthrough. Now, again, obviously along the way, same as when we started scaling WHub, you look into, okay, what might be additional pain points that either startups or investors face, and what might be a potential solution. And I guess that's where you're coming from, right? Is it, if I want to have investors that look into these investment opportunities more from a short-term point of view, maybe they're not looking for the times 10, times 100, maybe they just want to do it times 2, and therefore it has to be very liquid. So again, this is a different problem statement, which would require different solutions. And I guess that's the point where you're coming from and why you're applying for such a license.
Yes. So many entrepreneurs are from China. How does your platform allow, do you work with the Chinese entrepreneurs? They have a startup maybe in Shenzhen. What's the best way for them to utilize your platform and hopefully get funded?
Yeah. So again, it's actually what I was mentioning at the beginning. So we're very, very lucky that we have now an investment committee of industry expert, most successful angel investors, and really most successful founders who help us also make an informed, final recommendation on companies that might come from locations or geographies with which we're less familiar. So we're able to really provide market access here through the Hong Kong capital market to any company. So the company does not have to be headquartered or originally coming from Hong Kong. So for everybody listening to us from China, so it's the same thing as for a Hong Kong company or a US company or a European company. So you go on angelhub.io, and then we have a very short questionnaire, because again, one of the commitments that we have is we help make a huge difference in terms of the time it takes to fundraise. So you apply in 10 minutes, you go through the process, and we will tell you, we think that you are in the right place for us to help make a difference in your fundraising, and then you go live on the platform. So yes, if anybody's listening from China, please don't hesitate to come and sign up.
So just log on to angelhub.io, right?
Exactly.
With this epidemic, it's almost impossible for people to come into Hong Kong, due to the quarantine requirement of 2 weeks. So all the it seems that most of the physical fundraising activities are frozen. So probably the best way is to go online, go to your platform, register. If you're an investor, you go online, angelhub.io, register as an investor, right? If you're
absolutely, yeah.
Online.
And again, I think one of the things that I really want to stress, because I think one is, again, having the technology in place to allow, for example, digital sign up, right? But arguably then again, when it comes to, the problem that you're solving and your business model, and the fact that we're able to, vet startups from around the world, is again based also on the fact that we have a network of over 500 trusted partners worldwide already established through WHub and really deep through AngelHub. So very often, like a first, filter is also really through very, clear on the ground vetting of people who know the company, who know the industry, who know the background of the team. And then, yes, a lot of things. And afterwards, even in this new world, you can do online, you can have a Zoom call at any given point in time. It's arguably even faster now. Before, it was like, I'm currently in Central and you're based in Wan Chai or in Wong Chuk Han, so maybe can I come next week? So these days, it's just like we're just a click away.
Okay, well, I will be surprised that this webinar, you're going to be receiving hundreds or thousands of proposals and investment projects from China. Then how do you deal with all these applications? So if your site is flooded with hundreds and thousands of projects, how do you have the time and resources to go through the due diligence of these projects? How do you do that? Well, how many staff do you have to go through the due diligence and project evaluation?
Yeah, I mean, just to give you an example, for example, at the end of last year and beginning this year, we decided actually to go on a roadshow when the airports were still open. So we did a global startup competition where we went into 12 different countries, and we also had a digital semi-final. So we had applications from over 40 countries. And over 500 applications just for that very specific, it was a very specific, competition. And that's where, once again, we at the first stage, really leverage technology. So there is an online questionnaire, so you have to go through a certain online registration that helps us already filter out. And then afterwards from there, again, we have actually an internal selection process. And as I mentioned before, we really leverage also our partner network and then our IC, our investment committee, for doing the final selection.
Okay. How much time does it take if someone submits a project online? Do they have to wait for a long time before they hear from you?
So normally, no. I mean, the faster you hear, arguably, the quicker it means. So we think that at this point in time, we cannot help you. But even I would argue from really the time that you apply until you get live on the platform, it depends obviously on the readiness and reactiveness of the team. Do they have all documents in place? Because again, we have a very thorough due diligence process, and we also make that available for every investor that signs up, and that is verified and has access to that DD room. So sometimes, there might be a document here or that is not ready. But again, arguably there, we really want to play the role of a catalyst and help startups to, guide them in terms of this piece is missing here, and this is how you can, get, for example, that term sheet together. So typically, I would say between 4 to 6 weeks. That is typically what you should be counting on. If you're like super ready and super fast, then it can be even faster. But typically, very often what we see is there's still like, a few 1 or 2 documents that are missing, and just to get everything in place.
Do you organize regular pitch events for startup entrepreneurs to, once they submitted their project, they want to, do you create a platform for them to pitch the project, like a live video or something, to the investors?
Yes, absolutely. And I think, again, one of the things that is a very, very interesting, what we feel our mission is really to establish best practices. So best practices mean, obviously, on the one hand side, also give an opportunity to interested investors to really meet the founder or meet the team, or have, the pitch really delivered with their own passion and know-how and expertise coming through. But at the same time is also shielding the teams and the founders for needing to pitch it 100 times to people that are maybe just like 5% interested and potentially or never. So again, I think for us it is really clear that we establish best practices on the one hand side for the investors, and on the other hand also for the startups. And once again, I think one of the things what we actually think is really where investors can trust us is, again, we put our own money. So it's something where we also feel we can play that role on telling them, look, this is what is the right amount of due diligence, and this, you should just let the team now really execute on their business, because they're going to make and bring your money to work rather than, wasting time.
Okay, great. Well, let's jump to the next topic, which is we should talk about the SandBox. Should we bring Sebastien to online? He's the co-founder, CEO of Pixel, which is acquired by InMarkup Brands. I know that company because Yasio is my good friend, based in Cyberboard. So let's hear about TSB Gaming, the SandBox, TSB Gaming, the developer of the SandBox franchise. And let's welcome Sebastien online.
喂，你好，我叫 Sebastien， 我是法国人。我的优势是沙盒， like it's a bit more, yeah. Okay, that's what we show Zhongwen Yixia. So I'll switch to Yingwen now. Back to English. So hi, my name is Sebastien Bourget. I'm the CEO and co-founder of the SandBox, and I'm also a serial entrepreneur. The SandBox being our fourth company to date. I started in 2007 with my co-founder and CEO Arthur Madrid. Together, we first made a platform using BitTorrent technology, one of the very first application of decentralization with peer-to-peer, and that enabled a content producer, TV channel to save on bandwidth cost for delivering video on demand and high quality videos. We sold that company 2 years after. Then we launched another startup, this time focused in online photo, video, music, storage, sharing with your friend and streaming. So that was really our first step into user-generated content, people uploading their creations, their video, their media file and sharing with friends. We sold that company 2 years after having dozens of thousands of monthly paying subscribers. And we started a mobile game company, free to play, called Pixel in 2011, which has been focused in creating games that turn players into makers. So on one side, we had city builder games with IPs like Snoopy, Garfield, Goosebumps, The Addams Family, and others. And then we created also the SandBox Charre and SandBox Evolution in 2016, Charre Xihua. It's actually available in China if you want to download it on your mobile, which I've had over 40 million downloads to date, and I've been our most popular title on mobile free to play. In those games, the creator can essentially make their own level, their own world using pixel elements. There's over 500 of them, and upload it to an online gallery on the App Stores and Google Play Store for other players to play. So that's really how the SandBox franchise has been initiated. And along the acquisition of Pixel in 2018 by Animoca brand, so it's already over 2 years now, we've started to work on a new version of SandBox, this time in 3D, multiplayer, multi-platform, and that use blockchain technology to enable creators to actually truly own what they make and potentially monetize, trade, exchange their creation. So now I would say like the short way to describe what is a SandBox. SandBox is a virtual world where players can build, own, and monetize their gaming experience on the Ethereum blockchain using non-fungible tokens and Sand, the platform utility token. We haven't yet launched it, so the platform is still in development. It will be fully launched to the public towards December 2020 this year. But we have already, since it is a platform, it has 3 main components, which I'm happy to talk a little bit more right after. But I don't know if you need to translate to Chinese first and I should stop, or...
Yeah, let me just translation.
Yep. Okay.
I like Sebastian, I like your background, the SandBox and the 3D pixels. The 3D pixels behind, 那个背景 3D pixel 英文叫 voxel asset，voxel，voxel 中文翻译成就是3D 体积像素的意思，体积像素。那么体积像素简称体数，就是这个设计人员可以用一个3D 的模型设计成一个3D 模型图，然后把这个3D 的模型，然后这 monetize 就可以用它来赚钱。所以我们有些观众可能他们是这种设计师，他们可以用一些工具 ，3D 的工具，一个3D 的体积像素体数，voxel asset，and then monetize it， 就是把它量化把产生金钱，然后再放在跟这个 blockchain 用区块链技术和这个3D 游戏的3D 体积像素模型来结合起来。How are we doing? Okay. So, Sebastian, are you still there?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Good. I'm trying to get everyone to understand what's a box. So good. So tell us, how can people make money using your platform?
All right. So, well, but first let me present you a little bit more in depth how the SandBox platform works, all the different tools, components. So on the SandBox platform, we have three main tools. The first one is called VoxEdit. It's a 3D editor where you can make models and animate them. It's free. It's available on PC and Mac. It's not related to the blockchain, so you can use it to create amazing 3D model for SandBox platform, but you can also use it to work with Unity, Minecraft, and even other games, etc. in the industry. It's already live. We've launched it since December 2018. We have over 100,000 downloads to date of this software. It has quickly become one of the reference among all the 3D artists. We are working with, as we have launched a creator fund for artists, we are already working with over 100 artists on a daily basis who are producing game asset and content for our platform as part of well, our initiative to promote SandBox and create games for the platform. We have launched as well a marketplace which allows all those creation, all those models made with VoxEdit to be uploaded and then tokenized on the blockchain as a non-fungible token using the ERC 1155 standard. So we have started to run pre-sales of those content, enabling artists to sell some of their creation and monetize them, as well as we've launched pre-sale of lands. So lands are also tokens, NFTs, ERC 721, with each land is sort of like a virtual location in our map, in our virtual world map, which has a limited number, a total of 166, 464. We've done 4 rounds of pre-sale to date, selling for about 23% of that total map to the user, even though the game is not yet launched, but people can can start buying those locations in our virtual world where they'll be able to publish their game once we go live. And those sales have really gone well. They've sold the most recent one at the end of June sold out within 2 minutes. We have sold for over $1 million already of virtual land, virtual location on our game platform, which to thousands of landowners. So this is really a strong KPI that shows all the demand, the understanding that what we are building, there's a lot of excitement, there's a lot of possibilities behind for creators who now will be owning their creation. They will be able to trade, sell, monetize their games the way they want, without being in a centralized walled garden platform, which restrict them on what they can do on the content they create, which restrict them on the way they can monetize.
Looks like we have a network issue. How are we doing?
Yeah, it seems the photo is frozen.
Okay.
Photo.
It seems Sebastien
is coming from France, so there's some network issue on his iPhone. So maybe we should go back to Karina while we're waiting for Sebastien. So Karina, maybe you can share with us. It sounds like the SandBox, they're doing some fundraising. They're doing. Can you clarify? Is it equity fundraising or token raise or both?
Yeah, I think actually just to build on what Sebastien was saying that he was alluding to, and I think just to build on, I think why it's really very interesting to look into what they're creating. And I mean, I think we mentioned it beforehand. One of their advisors as well is you know, the Make and Dapper Labs, who were the inventors of CryptoKitties. So probably, you know, in your association in the blockchain world, very well known. And the reason, and arguably one of the understanding was really to democratizing access was one, really like helping, like lower barriers on, utilization of blockchain technology. But where it's particularly interesting is really allowing, as I was referring to earlier on, a shift in the gaming industry in terms of putting the power into the hands of those who actually arguably truly create, right? The gamers, the players, right? If I'm on Fortnite, or if I'm in Roblox, or if I'm on Animal Crossing, if I start, owning the creations that I make, and I can start, selling them, I can really arguably start making a living out of it, right? And I think that's really very, very interesting. And in this COVID world, there are a lot of webinars, and some of these webinars that we really organize ourselves, where we say who are arguably the winners of that crisis, for whom is this crisis a blessing in disguise. And you have enough examples in the fintech sector, but actually also in this gaming sector, right, where really the fact that people are more glued to their computers, consoles, and desktops, but even on mobile, where we hear things like every day is a Sunday now, because everybody is really more engaged. And the killer question where I wanted to get to is obviously always this: are these trends here to stay? Are these habit changes here to stay and to last? And I think what clearly such technologies that Sebastien is leveraging with non-fungible tokens, with the possibilities to start really putting true ownership into the game. I think these are really now habits that are here to last. Changes that are not just, they're certainly really, the adoption rate is just on steroids thanks to COVID, but these won't drop after COVID. And it's interesting because recently, in the team we were discussing, and Kartik, actually, one of our team members, shared with me an article about really the impact of COVID in the overall gaming industry in general. There are twofold. So one is, you can see like listed companies really have like, for example, Nintendo stock price increase of 25% over the past, since March. And you have even smaller gamer companies that are benefiting of, a ×2 type of valuation. So valuation multipliers go from ×5 to now ×10 in this post-COVID crisis. So one is because of all these habit changes that are here to last, but also what is very interesting in this gaming industry, and I think why we're talking so much, is like marketing dollars are becoming much cheaper, and those who are really benefiting from leveraging, promoting more of these games and these opportunities are the ones who are doubling down, and it's interesting. So that is are things that are really driving that, for the gamers, but also the investors in the industry. And that was a little bit your question. Both are really benefiting right now. So it's really, really interesting.
Yeah, I'm a true believer of games and gaming on blockchain. I think that's the future for blockchains for games and gaming. Because my other title, in addition to being the co-founder, co-chairman of Hong Kong Blockchain Association, is I lived in Macau for a number of years, and I'm the vice chairman of Macau Gaming Information Association. So with this COVID-19, as you know, casinos all over the world in Asia have been shut down. So many of these the players have moved online. So online games and online gaming, that's a very big trend, especially during this pandemic period. And one of the biggest issues with online games and gaming is the fairness of the game. So blockchain, one of the applications of blockchain is provably fair game, PFG. And I'm also looking at several projects on this blockchain gaming front. So if there are some good games, I'd love to help. I think that's really a big trend. I know just in Southeast Asia and China, there's a big demand for online games that's running on blockchain, and especially they're proven to be fair using a blockchain-driven RNG.
Right, absolutely. And you mentioned about, Yat, and I think, well, previously when I had him on the panel, he said, like, currently, gaming is a several $100 billion business, but this is going to evolve in a $1 trillion business. And again, I think one of this is really driven also by the fact that now we're kind of like incentivizing really gamers and players to leverage, their active playing as a way of benefiting from the creations that they do. And that's where, non-fungible tokens, NFTs, really play a major role. And we were hosting a webinar that was talking about like the lines between fintech and gaming. And it started off with, again, mentioning that COVID really arguably was a blessing in disguise and benefiting these industries in terms of technology adoption and, trust barriers falling and, trust being enhanced through blockchain technology, but that the lines are really blurring, that a lot of financial services that are that are technology empowered fintech are really gamified. And on the other hand, if you think about, non-fungible tokens starting to become tradable, and actually, virtual assets that start, having a value to it, and that might mean, coming back to the other topic that we had about, regulating certain, exchanges of cryptocurrencies or assets. So we ended up the panel discussion, and Seb, we were just talking while you were trying to reconnect. We were thinking of, well, fintech is more and more gamifying, and gaming is probably maybe very closely on being into a frontier space of needing to get regulated, in terms of really the money exchange and the asset, be it, in crypto, for example, or NFTs that are going to be exchanged. That was really exciting.
Sebastien.
Definitely. Sorry, I've been cutting. I don't know where you lost me. Was it like the marketplace? Was it the planned pre-sale? Was it the game maker?
I actually had a question. Are you doing equity raising or token raise? Are you doing both? I had a question for you.
Right. So in SandBox, we have a native token called Sand, which is a utility token that is the main token you will need to access the platform, be able to purchase assets, purchase lands, play games, pay creators, etc., as well as participate in the governance of the platform, getting the power to actually influence the content on the platform by voting. So we've launched a creator fund, as I mentioned before, and this creator fund is going to be governed by a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, where the users who hold Sand can stake their Sand in order to participate in voting decision on how grants can be given to all the different creators and game projects that are submitted by anyone around the world, to be published on SandBox platform. So essentially, we are going to be progressively decentralizing and giving directly to our community of Sand holders and everyone interested in participating in the success of the platform to vote and decide what kind of content. And that's as Karina was mentioning before, it's really a strong model where we try to make the different stakeholders who participate, who give their time either playing or creating on the SandBox platform, become actively incentivized to the success of the platform and participating to the success. They have a way for them to benefit through that, through potentially the accruing of value that Sand token will see in the future, as well as all the different monetization options they have for selling their content as NFTs, selling their games as NFTs, participating to creating content in their lands, in our virtual world metaverse, etc.
Wow. Okay. What are you doing in China? China, I believe, is one of the biggest gaming and game player population. So are you promoting your community to China?
We have definitely a strong community presence in Asia in general. Korea and Japan are the top 2 countries already for SandBox because of the background in video games, in MMO, online RPGs, etc. So they really understand the idea of having a character like an avatar that you take into a virtual world and you play games, you complete quests with friends, you compete, etc. We also have a very strong footprint in Hong Kong region, more specifically thanks to Animoca brands and also all the work that Angela is putting in as part of the promotion of SandBox project. Singapore as well through some of our equity investors, namely True Global Venture, for example. And in China, we have seen, just as a fact, for example, the first time that we announced the SandBox was at China Joy in August 2018 in Shanghai. And since then, we have also an existing community and presence with partners like DAP Review or dapdap.com, among some of the blockchain gaming Chinese communities.
But I think I agree with you. I think blockchain in gaming, that's a big application. And with China's huge game player population, I think that you're going to be seeing a lot of opportunities in China, and also by creating a platform for gamers and creators and designers to monetize their voxel asset design. I think that's a great idea. And with this DAO and token economy to incentivize a user-generated, it's like a like a YouTube or user-generated platform for users, players to work together and create an ecology, and they can make money on their creation and monetize their voxel assets. I think that's a great idea. So
thank you. That's really like our background has been for 8 years into user-generated content, and we thought and saw like the real strong connection and that non-fungible tokens and user-generated content could bring in terms of value for creators. And it's also been one of the struggles we saw for all the success of SandBox on mobile, all those creation, but there was no way for us to enable our creators who spent sometimes more than hours, actually days, to make amazing content to actually benefit from it. So it really came naturally at the end of 2017. And I think as we are now one of the most anticipating blockchain game platform / blockchain game of the year, a lot of people are understanding our vision, what we're trying to build, and how we are trying to disrupt the existing Minecraft or Roblox, which are fully centralized gaming platform.
yeah, I think great. One is for the gamers and users and creators to have a platform to collaborate and tokenize and monetize everything. Another thing is, I think, for a lot of the players during the internet gaming world, they complain that the centralized gaming machine on the centralized database is not fair. So there are solutions on blockchain, I believe, a provably fair game using blockchain to prove its RNG randomization. I think there are new blockchain-based technologies and provably fair game technologies that can make the gamers feel more comfortable and they can trust on the fairness of the game. I think that's very important.
Absolutely. There was a very recent announcement, by the way, from Chainlink, which is exactly what you say. They provide the oracles for the provably fair random number generations and a few other things that are actually needed by those games. And this partnership with a platform called Gamer Ash, I think, is really putting a broader adoption around NFTs. Myself, besides SandBox, I'm also the president of the Blockchain Game Alliance, which is a non-profit organization that counts now over 150 members from blockchain game company, but also traditional game company like Ubisoft, Atari, Square Enix, investors, media, blockchain development platform, blockchain platform protocols, etc. So it's a large amount of companies that are all working toward promoting the adoption of NFTs, and we're really seeing in 2020, probably also because in part of the COVID pandemic, as Karina was mentioning as well before, an increase in the volume of transaction, an increase in the understanding of NFTs and the adoption.
Okay, great.
And it's interesting, actually, Sebastien. I was just wondering, it's just interesting because, Atari for me is like a very, traditional company, but I think they really doubled down on the sales of land. No, what were they behind the majority of the land acquired?
So we have a collaboration with Atari, where we are they will be bringing inside the SandBox metaverse indeed some of their most famous IPs, including Roller Coaster Tycoon, Pong, Super Breakout, Centipede, Millipede, etc. And as we conducted our third round of land pre-sale, which by then was 10% of our map, it sold out in 4 hours, representing somewhere like $500,000 of revenue. So it really showed, first, of course, that Atari, even though it's a brand that exists for over 25 years, can also be in the pioneers of a new technology. And the second is like there is, again, a strong understanding from our community. Like we have the capacity to bring major gaming publisher to create games in SandBox platform. And having your own game as an individual creator or smaller creator next to an Atari game is actually something also very valuable for you in ways of like how players will be discovering your game and the potential upside you can get in more visibility and potentially more revenue as well if you create good content and fun game on your lands.
Atari,
and I think
legendary name. I grew up playing games. Is that
right? So Atari is one of them.
I was saying that, Tony, because we probably have the same age. I mean, I also remember growing up with the Atari Olympic Games where you were kind of like behind your joystick and really tried to. Yes.
That's great.
So yeah, we're really excited. It's one of the first we could announce. There's more coming. We have Square Enix, the video game company behind Tomb Raider, Final Fantasy, etc., among our investors as well. So definitely, I think it shows there's a strong interest from traditional game companies to understand how blockchain technology can be leveraged also through their the business model they are for the next 5 to 10 years on their side, but also how they can leverage a new platform like SandBox all together.
Well, great. Time flies when we're having fun chatting about games and fundraising and crowdfunding. It's great. We should definitely do more with Hong Kong Blockchain Academy, Blockchain Association, and various projects under NGO Hub and SandBox. We should also invite Yasio to our event next time. We'll make it a to-do on our to-do list. Before we say goodbye to our audience, why don't each of you spend a couple sentences to summarize your project, and if you have a recommendation for our students, audience. So maybe Karina, do you have a conclusive comment?
Yes, great. Well, once again, thank you very much. I mean, for the audience, I mean, please reach out if you have any questions, if you're a startup and you would like to better understand if we can help you in your fundraising process. Obviously, please reach out. Once again, you can come from any industry, leveraging any type of technology, not only blockchain, but we probably have mostly blockchain companies listening right now. Again, on the investor side, obviously, please do reach out. Would be really great to have you on board and share with you, the opportunities that we provide. And I would be really thrilled also to do another webinar soon again, and Tony, and interview you how it went about going on the STO license. So that I wish you all the best for that, and really thrilled. And just again to round up in the gaming sector, and I let Sebastien obviously is one of the industries that arguably once again comes out even stronger. It was meant to grow anyway, but I think we're now on an acceleration path that is significant. And we're very, very bullish on that.
We should definitely do more events. Many of our Hong Kong Blockchain Association members come from the traditional finance world. Some of them are fund managers, investment managers. So I'm sure many of them will be interested investors to get on your platform. And also, we also have a lot of young members who are either working in blockchain projects or who are in a blockchain entrepreneurial project in the startup. So it's probably a very good platform for all of them to try out and start up creating a registration on angelhub.io. So Sebastien, do you have a summary for our audience?
Yes, absolutely. Well, it's I think we're living like a great time. Unfortunately, a bad time for like the world health situation with the pandemic, but a great, fantastic time for gaming, and specifically the progress of this play-to-earn business model, which is essentially using blockchain technology to empower players, to empower finance DeFi, that enables players to not just be spending in games and have their any digital asset they purchase that are locked on centralized account, but be able to build up value, own the content that they either get as rewards through their playtime or the content that they create in the case of SandBox platforms, if we are UGC platform, and turn this into turn their leisure time, their entertainment time into an opportunity to actually also potentially earn some extra revenue. So I wouldn't say a full-time salary yet, but it's already a first step, baby step, I would say. And progressively we'll see more and more as more games are applying the same mindset and the same methods behind that allow their players to earn through playing. And it's really the way this true digital ownership is being enabled through NFTs is totally game changing, as we have now this whole class of new digital assets that can be traded, can be exchanged, can be resold or secondary marketplace, and hence hold much more value. That's why we believe well, gaming is bound to become $1 trillion industry through that progress. And we're really happy to be at this pioneering time with SandBox, aiming to launch the platform by the end of the year to the public, and launching our next land pre-sale actually on Tuesday, August 4th. So if you want to get a chance to own a land, own this small part of the metaverse, and potentially build amazing game with our game maker tool, which requires no programming, it's again your chance to be there.
That's great. Well, we're running out of time, so let me quickly summarize in Chinese. 我们非常欢迎这个 angelhub.io 的创始人Karina Berlin， 还有这个 SandBox.game 的创始人 Sebastien， 他的是一个区块链的一个游戏资产 3D 资产，就是体积像素 3D voxel asset 体积像素。这个平台呢 SandBox.game 这个平台可以让这些游戏设计者可以通过这个平台可以赚钱，可以分享他的游戏和他帮游戏做的一个资产。你刚刚看到的那种 3D 像素，好像 Lego 乐高小块一样的，可以把它堆积起来，可以在这个虚拟的世界可以产生很多3D 的这个体积像素的模型，可以通过分享这些来赚钱。还有这个 NFT 就是不可混合的 non-fungible token 的通证，就是不可混合的通证。那么这是一个众筹平台，欢迎投资者加入去登记，可以投资到好的项目，也欢迎创业家不同的创始人去登记，通过这个 angelhub.io 这个众筹平台可以接触到很多投资人，希望大家可以在区块链的创业路上越来越教育，越来越成功。那么在这个疫情下，我们也看到这个区块链游戏，还有这个包括这个provably fair game， 就是可验证的区块链公平性的游戏变得越来越受欢迎。这也是我觉得这是互联网游戏的下一个，就是互联网加上区块链的一个游 游戏，这是下一轮的这个热门的一些投资项目。非常感谢 ，Thank you again, Karina. Thank you again, Sebastian. Thank you to AngelHub.io and SandBox COO. Thank you.
谢谢你们，再见。
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much, Tony. Thank you. 谢谢你。
谢谢我们的学员，谢谢我们的赞助商，谢谢合作通证，谢谢香港区块链协会，还有这个金沙江资本 ，Golden Sand Resources，太一集团，太一 Group。Thank you to our sponsors. 谢谢。